Pierce, quick, welcome back to Tuscaloosa. I hope you're doing well.
Hey, how y'all doing? It's great to be on here.
All right, so let's go back to yesterday. How dominant were you at the grill, or at least the table? Like, I mean, what was the menu for Pierce Quick on July the 4th?
On July the 4th, I freaking ate a ton. I think I slept in because my flight didn't get back from the opening till about 12, so I slept till probably 11 o'clock. But when I woke up, had some Bojangles, I had a bunch of that. And then went over to my aunt's. We had some burgers. I think I had 3 burgers. Then we went to then we had homemade ice cream and some brownies. Had a lot of that.
Okay.
And I came back home, chilled with the family. We actually had slider burgers.
So hold on a minute. You covered, even though you got up late, you still got 3 meals in on a July the 4th day.
Always got to get 3 meals in. Yeah, just a little later breakfast and a 1 o'clock lunch.
I got you. Nothing wrong with that. Something tells me you probably went through all those calories pretty quick, the way that you burn them and all that. Let's go back to the opening for a couple of minutes. Recap that for us. Kind of run through what that event's like and what were you able to learn out there?
So that event, it was one of the best experiences of my life, honestly. Like I've never been to a camp where I've actually learned as much as I did there. Like that was an awesome experience, just coming out there. And not only did I learn football stuff, like they had guest speakers and stuff come in, and I was learning stuff outside of football and like real life stuff. So that was really cool there. But on the football side, I learned a lot too. You got to watch film every single day of yourself, and they gave you notebooks to take notes on it. I mean, it was an awesome experience.
So when you look at talking about going up against the nation's best players, obviously you're one of those guys, 5-star guys. Does it give you a chance to test where you're at and what you need to work on?
For sure. I mean, because in high school ball, you face some good players, but nothing like at the opening. It's like when you're at the opening, you're like you said, you're facing the top guys around the country, so you can truly see like what you really need to work on. Because when you're facing some other guys, like you can not do some, you can have some bad mechanics and still win. When you're out there at the opening, your technique and everything's got to be perfect for you to win, so it can show you like what you need to work on in your technique.
Pierce, who was the best guy that you went up against?
Well, I actually only got to go up against 2 guys because of the pad rule. I can't wear pads because of the state of Alabama.
Okay, yeah, I'm not familiar with that. Can you update us?
So I don't really personally, I don't like the rule, and it kind of, if you want to be honest, it took out of my experience of the opening. It really, it hurt my shots of being able to make it to the Final 5 and all that stuff. Like the state of Alabama, Louisiana, Ohio, and I think maybe one more state. If you're from that state, you aren't allowed to wear pads at the opening. It's like me, Cardell Thomas, and Clay Webb were the only 3 offensive linemen who couldn't wear pads during one-on-one.
Oh wow, I did not know that. And
there were only 3 D linemen total that couldn't wear pads. Also, it was Muhammad Diabute, what's his name from Zach Harrison, and Ismail Soffer.
Gotcha. So I assume that's an Alabama high school state association rule. Is that right?
Yes, sir. It's an Alabama high school rule, and I mean it really took out because I didn't get to go up against guys like Nolan Smith and Kayvon Thibodeau. Like I wish I could have been able to go up against those guys also.
So Pierce, what is next for you? What is the process? I mean, now are we waiting camp to start, and then high school football will be here even a couple of weeks prior to college? Is that what's next? What's next for Pierce Quick?
So I've actually got one more camp. I fly out on Monday to Canton, Ohio for the Pro Football Hall of Fame thing. It's a new thing that they're trying out, or that they're starting to do now. And so on Monday, I'll fly out to Canton, Ohio and do a 3-day camp there. And then after that, I've got just finishing up summer football. Then I'll start fall camp very soon. Finish, hopefully win state with my team for my senior season. And then actually for this Pro Football Hall of Fame thing, they're going to fly me back out to Canton, Ohio on, I think it's December 16th. And then I'll sign my letter of intent on CBS on national TV.
Okay. And you will be an early enrollee?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you'll be here ready to go in January. Let me go and just ask you, I know how firm you are to the University of Alabama, but does that still shut down the other schools? Are you still hearing from those other schools?
Actually, I haven't heard from – the first time for me hearing from another school was 2 days ago. I haven't heard from another school other than Alabama ever since I shut it down. But Coach Cristobal from Oregon just texted me and said, "Good job on the opening." That's the first time I've heard from another school since I shut it down.
Okay, so you obviously are very vocal out on there. So I think people know where you're going to go and end up at your playing days. Let me ask you about Brent Key. For those of us who may not know him the way that you know him, describe Brent Key and what's it like to get to know him.
So Coach Key now, getting to know him, I would say Coach Key's like family to me. My whole family, we're all really tight with him. I mean, we're literally like, I've known him for almost 2 years now. So we're super tight, and he's a really good guy. He's a player's coach for sure. He's gonna push you where you need to go, and I mean, he's gonna help me achieve my goals, I feel like.
What does he tell you as far as going through this recruiting process and obviously the stress of the demands of just being a major 5-star player, the expectations? How does he kind of help you with that?
So me and Coach Key have a thing, like whenever I'm around him or like talking on the radio or doing an article or something like that, like he keeps up with it. I'm not allowed to say the word 5-star. Like that's his rule.
You're not allowed to say that.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to say that word.
Okay.
So like that's how he keeps up with it, because he says like when you come to Alabama, everybody there is a 0-star. You know what I mean? Like there is no stars anymore. Everybody there is a freaking baller. They were all great out of high school, so everybody's equal.
All right, so Pierce, let me ask you about Clay Webb. Give me your relationship with Clay Webb. Sort of describe that.
Me and Clay are super tight. He was actually my roommate at the opening, so that was really cool. And I mean, we were just talking about like Clay, honestly, out of all the recruits, is probably, one of my best friends from the recruiting, just from the recruiting standpoint. Like, I've known him for a long time now, too. Every time we see each other, we talk. Like, we talk about stuff outside of football. Like, I told some people on spring break, me and my friends, we were down at the beach. He was at the same beach. We hung out while at the beach. I mean, I'd consider us friends.
All right. So how many times have you told him, come on, man, just come on to Alabama, quit flirting with these other schools, just make the decision?
I mean, I tell him that every single time. I wish he would just go ahead and, shut it down and tell everybody.
Well, and now Clay, if I'm not mistaken, he grew up an Alabama fan, right? Am I wrong? Am I right about that?
Actually, he didn't grow up any sports fan. He was a Jacksonville State fan.
Okay.
So his mom graduated from Jacksonville State University.
Okay. Hey, there's nothing wrong with Jacksonville State. I mean,
not at all.
Sure. I mean, I grew up maybe an hour and a half. Those guys played some really good football, but it's not fair to compare, Jackson State and Jacksonville State and what's happening here in Tuscaloosa. Pierce, have you just embraced the role? Because I had a national recruiting analyst on, and he was talking about Pierce Quick from a standpoint of being the catalyst behind this signing class. It seems like that you've just embraced that role of being that next, recruiter for Nick Saban.
I mean, I love it. Like, I love, people calling me the recruiter and stuff like that. Like, that's an unreal feeling, just because I grew up a ginormous Bama fan. Like, ever since I was a little kid, I've been going to Bama games. And so now for fans around the country to be, calling me the lead recruiter and stuff like that, like, that's a dream of mine, to say, like, to recruit other recruits to come to Bama. Sure.
I mean, as you said, you grew up rooting for the University of Alabama, but it's kind of funny how that you've taken on that role. And, like I said, the national recruiting analyst Barton Simmons was saying, we don't see this a lot. We see a lot of guys just kind of standoffish. They'll make their decision and they'll kind of encourage these guys, some of private. He said, but Pierce is doing it both. He said he's in the ear of all these guys. So, all right, so you're working on Clay Webb. Who else is your targets now for Pierce Quick?
So I'd say my main targets right now would be Clay, Nakobe Dean, Kavion Thibodeau, Darnell Wright. It's hard to think of them off the top of my head. Evan Neal, Jeffrey Carter.
That's a pretty good start right there. I mean, that's
not all of them, but that's a lot of them right there.
All right. So the last time we talked to you, we were talking about Paul Tyson, the quarterback there with you. Obviously, Paul's a part of this process, and I had a chance to see Paul. First time I've really noticed him and had a chance to kind of just watch him do his magic. First thing that jumps out to me, he is one big dude. I mean, Paul Tyson.
He's almost as tall as me.
Yeah, it's a big quarterback. That's a big quarterback.
For sure. And I tell a lot of people he's more of like a pre-Jalen Hurts era, like prototypical Bama quarterback. Like he's a pocket passer, and Coach Saban's won a lot of national championships with those type of quarterbacks. So I think he'll do real good at Bama.
Yeah, he's a big guy, and I think that's the one thing that most people overlook is, we think about Coach Bryant and we think about the legendary status. But Joe Namath once told me, he said, the one thing about Coach Bryant, I said, what's the first thing when you saw Coach Bryant? He said, that is a very, very large man. So obviously the genes have worked down to Paul Tyson and looking at the statue of him. Okay, so Pierce, when we talk about going through and Hewitt-Trussville, the expectations with all that talent around you, there's expectations that now comes with that at the high school level. What are the goals going into the 2018 season for Hewitt-Trussville?
So the goal for us is to win a state championship. We feel like we're at that level, and we feel like we can do it this season. We've got the team to do it. We've got the athletes to do it. I mean, like most of these guys, just about everybody on this team has played together now. So like we've been together for a while. The coaches have been here for a while. Everybody knows the system very well. So the goal this season is to win a state championship and bring the first one ever to Hewitt-Trussville.
We had a caller earlier that talked about Hewitt-Trussville, and one of the things that he brought up is you guys get another chance at Hoover. What does that mean for you? What does that mean for you?
That's a big deal for us just because, I mean, you can't deny it. Hoover right now is the alpha dog of the state. You know what I mean? Like, you can't get around that. Like, that's just how it is. And so everybody in the state wants to beat Hoover, and we're one of those teams that wants to beat them. So we are ready to face them, and we're definitely not scared of them.
How about the exposure on the television side of things? Obviously, as your program continues to get the publicity that it's been received, TV exposure comes with that.
Heck yeah. I mean, we're super pumped. Our first game against Cedar Grove, Georgia, will be on ESPN. That's crazy right there, honestly. Like, to be able to play on ESPN while in high school, I mean, I never thought that would happen.
All right, let me ask you about Rudy Griffin, defensive coordinator on the other side of the football, but another Bama guy. What does Rudy tell you about playing at the University of Alabama?
Me and Coach Griffin, we talk about it all the time. He just tells me, how hard I need to keep on working and stuff like that, because playing at the University of Alabama, like I said earlier, everybody there is good. Everybody works hard. So, he just tells me experiences he had and stuff like that. But, I mean, Coach Griffin, he definitely is family with me. Coach Griffin's helped me through so many things. He has helped me out with the recruiting process so much.
Sure. I mean, he was a guy that performed at a high level here at the University of Alabama, and also just an overall great dude. He was like that as a player here, and I'm sure he's continued that trend. We had a chance to feature him a few weeks ago. Hey, Pierce, always enjoy the conversation, man. I'm impressed, man. Every time I see you on Twitter working your little magic and being the catalyst for Alabama recruiting, man, it's impressive. And looking forward to covering your days here at the University of Alabama. I've enjoyed the conversation here in Tuscaloosa.
Heck yeah. Thank y'all for having me on, and I want to let y'all know we're just getting started.
Okay. So are you picked up a trend? I think the rolling trend is right now. You see all these coaches tweeting out it's rolling or whatever it is. It's 2019.
Yes, they're rolling.
Yeah.
Well, we're rolling right now. We've got a bunch of guys that I hope are about to go public real soon.
Oh, look at there. That's called a radio tease right there, Piers. I mean, that's what they call that.
It's a little bit of a tease. But it's true.
So what you're telling us is the 2019 class should be growing, even though they're the number one class right now in the country. You expect them to get to
we're going
to
be number one by a long shot.
Ooh. Wow. Okay. Hey, I think you've excited the crowd. Pierce, I appreciate you, man. Thank you, sir. Enjoy the time off.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having me on. I'll see y'all.